Hello, I'm Wallace Allen. This is Empire Talks Back, where we discuss things that matter. Today we're going to talk about your corporation and how to best you don't have a corporation? My goodness, you need to stick around. I'm going to talk to Mr. Akil Dawud. His company is called Jci, just keeping it intense. That's not the way it really goes, but we're going to intensely talk about it, and we'll be back right after this break.
Today is the beginning of a bright new future for this country.
Won't live a life on my knees.
The voters are coming.
Welcome back to Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. Meet Mr. Akil Dawud.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
JCI, what does that stand for?
It stands for Just Create Intensity.
Just Create Intensity.
Yes, sir.
And that's a good motto. That's a good theme. Why do we use that theme? What is it about your business that intensity is one of the key components of?
Because it actually takes intensity to really be successful pretty much in anything that you're trying to do. So for me, intensity is what drives me. It is where my strength comes from, and is what I give to people.
Very good. Now, what is the purpose of your business? Tell us a little bit of an outline and a profile of JCI.
Right. So JCI, primarily, first and foremost, we are a business organization that is about helping other people understand how to get into business. But I like to say that I'm actually a teacher.
Okay.
I'm an educational type person that's driven in helping people not just understand how to create a business, but actually how to use it properly. So I'm an educator.
I inferred to everyone at the beginning of the show that you were able to tell them how to best use their corporation or any other business structure.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. That's what he said. Just
I'm here to be
creating
tested.
intensity.
I'm here to be tested.
Perfect. So what's important about your business, the business, a corporation, the structure of a business, and who should have a business?
I like that. So I'm going to answer the last first.
Okay.
So everyone, if you have created income or you're of the age or even below the age to actually create revenue, then you should actually have a business, because creating that entity, first thing it does is actually starts to give you control over the taxation that's taking place in the W-2 world.
You said creating revenue. Does that mean a job, a business, an allowance?
Actually, you know what the great thing is? People who have, I call them W-2ers, I can show them how to take control of the tax implications they have through the job. But when I'm at my best, when I'm creating the most intensity, is when I'm dealing with the youth. Someone under the age of 18, maybe that they're still in that formative years where they're not afraid of risk. I can usually make them a lot more powerful than someone who's already created a bill for themselves and became afraid of the world.
Okay, we're going to not forget to talk about business structure and the importance of those, but the idea that you've had some success with working with people under 18.
Yes, sir.
And helping them get motivated to either start a business or keep a bank account or something like that, or go further in school, is encouraging, creating intensity.
Yes, sir.
Give us an example.
So one of the examples, and this is one of our sister company, which is JCI Business Builders Academy, which is a nonprofit organization.
JCI Business Builders Academy.
Yes. So
sounds like a tuition may be involved.
Well, actually, so far, I'm doing it through the passion and love of actually teaching entrepreneurship. So I'm not charging people.
That's the greatest tuition that you can offer.
Of course.
It's a sincere desire to help.
Right.
And
people
can very seldom pay for that up front, but watching how they deal with it after you've delivered becomes your...
That's my blessing.
So tell us about this young man, young woman.
Right. So ultimately, some of the things that we do for people or young people who are under the age of 18 is actually taking them through what we call an entrepreneurial type program. And so it not just teaches them how to actually go out and do a product, because everyone actually knows or they have a vision of something, but that's product. That's not business, or service, not business. Okay. And so us being able to teach someone that's younger the difference between products and business is really empowering, because a product won't create a business, but a business allows a product to sustain itself. And so the first step is actually teaching them why they're different and the power of the two. And so we like to do that with young people.
Could you do that with a couple of old people right now?
Yeah, I can. I look
Would
forward to
you?
that. But the goal in that type program is to first begin that what we call the JCI Mind Shift, right? Everyone has a mindset, but
Okay.
most people need a mind shift. And so what we look to do with young people is one, start teaching them about entrepreneurship because they have that vision already, and we're just actually putting it in a focused, intense type
Okay.
program of understanding why they're doing each component of it and how they're relative to the business side and also to the product or service side. And when they understand that, the power of what we're doing is we're teaching them the template, if you will, which means no matter what product or service they or their friends or young people have, understanding the business will allow them to help anyone around them because the business can drive any product, but not any product is relative to the business. So we're teaching them ownership, not just the labor side of it. As I say, we want them to understand the owner side, not the wage side.
The structure.
Exactly.
Could you describe some of the different types of structures that are available for people to use in their
Yes. So,
business?
of course, most people who enter the business sector enter typically from two areas: sole proprietorship or partnership, meaning sole proprietor is one person doing business. They get that at their local city hall, or partnership, which is also done at their local city hall, but that's two or more people. That is the standard way people understand how to conduct business. I'm teaching them the corporate side of things, and that could involve whether it be a traditional corporation, which then has designations called S Corp and C Corp and why they're different. We teach them about LLCs, which is another format of way of doing business,
Could
even
I
nonprofits. Yes, sir.
get us to go look back at sole proprietor
Sole
and
proprietor.
partnership?
Yes, sir.
There's some advantages and disadvantages right there with those two.
Yes.
Could you give us a short lesson on that, or do I have to pay tuition?
No.
Okay.
I'm with you today.
Okay.
We're talking back.
See what I'm giving you guys? You better appreciate
So
this.
the power, if you want to say the pros and cons of doing the sole proprietorship or partnership, either one,
Mm-hmm.
the pro of that is it's inexpensive, at least in theory. It's really not. It's more expensive because you don't understand the implication. But when people enter the business world, that's the way that they choose because it's inexpensive. Meaning you can go to most local city halls are anywhere from $65 to maybe $85. You have to file in the newspaper for 30 days to register that you are a new business in that area. And those are usually anywhere from maybe 85 to maybe 110, 120, depending on the newspaper.
But running my business
Right,
as a sole proprietor and as a partnership.
right. Very risky.
Ah, good. Explain that. What's the
So
risk?
the risk, matter of fact, partnership in the basic format is the riskiest way that you can do anything because an example is if I'm a partner and my partner, I'm here with you having this conversation
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in partnership with one other person and
Yes.
they're out. If they get into an accident and injure someone and they get sued because of our relationship and their bank account is a little bit smaller than mine, that relationship allows them to levy my account even though I was sitting here having, I hope, an enlightening conversation. And that is the relationship that could be detrimental
What's
to me.
very enlightening is what you just said is that we should not endeavor into partnerships.
No, you should not. And if you do, and that's the way you have to do, then you have to make sure, which doesn't happen often, that you also create at least a general liability policy to give you some buffer before they talk to your Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Chase account.
Under what circumstances would you have to do a partnership, Mr. Dawud?
Well, from my world, the truth of that is there is
Never.
no circumstance.
Right, that's what
when
I'm
you
talking
have
about.
to do a
So
partnership.
that's because of what you said. The liability is
Right.
your liabilities are running around with your partner who was smart enough to get you to be a partner, but may not be smart enough to
Exactly.
protect you as a partner.
Right.
The next step above a sole proprietorship where you get to make all the decisions and carry all the liabilities and at the
Exactly.
same time risk your house and car while you're risking. Tell us about the next step.
So if you are graduating, as you said, from sole proprietorship, which is really just a job that you gave yourself, that you can give yourself a title, to partnership
Okay.
where you argue over who's going to be the CEO.
You just said that.
Right.
A sole proprietorship is like having
A job.
a job, you just gave it to yourself.
Exactly.
Okay. Well,
But once you move
but
into
that's
the
a good step.
right, it is,
I
and
mean,
it's a good place to start. But when you move into the corporate arena, and it doesn't matter whether you choose an LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company. A lot of people think it's corporation, and it is not. Or any traditional corporation. When you move there, one of the first advantages you give yourself is a separation. By law, they call them separate living entities, which means what happens in the business does not directly impact your personal life.
Kind of like what happens in Vegas. Stays in Vegas.
Almost stays in
Almost-
Vegas.
almost stays in Vegas. Okay.
And what happens in your personal life doesn't have a detriment to your company.
Okay.
So the power of that is sometimes people who go into business initially, hypothetically, let's say you have a not so good FICO score, right? But you can create that entity and develop credit there that's not driven by your FICO score. So you're not injured by bad decision as a human being in the corporate world.
That's a real interesting area. We should kind of spend some time with that.
Yes, sir.
In terms of your FICO score and the FICO score for your corporation.
Right.
Usually it's going to come from your FICO score, personal, unless you're going to be able, and you're going to be able to tell us how to use another score or another entity to create that score.
Right. So, and even that, the difference too, in the human world, it's called a FICO score. In the business world, it's called a PAYDEX score. So they're different. So over here is one is happening by some of the same entities, you know, TransUnion, Equifax, over on the personal side, and over here, Experian as well. Over here, you have Dun & Bradstreet who tracks, and Experian who also, but this is a PAYDEX score on the corporate side, and then you have your FICO score. You can actually develop corporate credit, does not have to involve your personal FICO score.
Your company helps people develop.
Now that could be a tuition.
That could be a tuition. Okay. Oh, I'm going to see if I can get him to show us how to do that. You did say earlier that everybody is probably in a good position to start a business or should.
Right.
Hey, what if I got a good job making, 12, 13 bucks an hour or
you
for
say
12 or
good job.
13,000 a month?
Right.
You're going to tell me that regardless of how much my income is with a job, that it would benefit me to have a business.
Without question.
Even a sole proprietorship.
Actually, yes, even a sole proprietorship. And the power that is, if you have a job, and we'll use your example, the person is making $12,000 a month. Great income, at least in theory, but depending on whether they're married, depending on whether they own a home, depending on whether they have children under the age of 17, right, will determine also what kind of advantages or tax code they're able to leverage. So if that individual is making $12,000 a month, and they have no deductions, they're paying 35, 40, maybe 42% of that salary in taxes.
Wait a minute. You mean my $12,000 a month? I'm not. If I was making that, I'd know what was happening. But my $12,000 a month taxed at about 30%.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So that means your $12,000 is really about $7,500. After you pay Uncle Sam, our favorite uncle.
But if I had a business, there's some things that I could do to put that money in another place, another system.
Yeah, so what we like to educate people, what we call is, again, the mind shift. So we say everyone knows how to make money because you can fill out an application and get a job. But not everyone knows how to control money. Control starts with understanding the difference between a W-2 and a W-9. A W-9 is the form that actually creates some form of business or independent contractorship, which is at minimum like a sole proprietor.
Okay.
The power of doing that, right? And I mean literally before you are even crystal clear in what your business is going to be, but the creation of any type home-based business or anything of that nature will create a W-9. That W-9 then starts to open up the tax code that the W-2 does not have.
Sounds like we're opening up some kind of secret room that nobody else knows about.
Yeah, well, it's kind of odd to say that,
yeah,
but that's really true. And what I say is to empower people with what I call the 5 things you spend your money on, and for me to empower you from a tax perspective is worth you having a conversation. So an example is I show you how to create a W-9. You haven't made any money, but by the creation of the W-9, you now get to write off. I just say this loosely because there's an IRS actual designation, but I say it loosely, 10%. Go ahead.
Hold on, because I want people to have a chance to write this down. I want them to be sure that they're paying attention.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to take a break. During the break, I would like for you to stick around and watch the commercials and all of that. But it's really important that you go get a pen and paper and you come back and you take notes, because I'm about to explore this young man's brain. I'm going to pick his brain for you. He's not going to not cooperate, but I'm going to try to go a little deeper than he wants us to. And I'm sure he won't do it twice. He's a smart guy, and he's not going to make that mistake twice. He's not qualified to be our president because His
No,
memory's
sir.
too good. Okay, this is Empire Talks Back, where we discuss things that matter. I'm Wallace Allen. That's Akil Dawud. We'll be right back. Get that pen and paper.
Do you want to retire like a champ? Just like legendary basketball star Uncle Drew?
Don't do him like that, Uncle Drew.
You're already acing the game. You've got your dream ride.
Don't be slamming my door.
Sorry about that.
You just did the same.
Gotta get the boys.
Your dream vacation, and your dream team. And now you can make your retirement just as legendary.
I get buckets.
Get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Hello, I'm still Wallace Allen, and I'm still with Akil Dawud, and he's still just creating intensity for you, however, this time. Now, I hope you have your pen and paper. We're going to discuss some things that are really important. We're talking about how you can convert some of that tax money that you are paying Uncle Sam, who's my uncle too. I'm not upset with him, but he's got more money than I do, and probably more than you. And we should be trying to control our money. We can do things in our community. We can do things to help other people. We can do things to be selfish and help ourselves. But we can't do that if we don't understand the tax code. And Akil's going to open up that door for us now. So talk to us a little bit about how and why, how can I save money by having a business? And you inferred that it didn't really even have to be a business of passion with me.
Right. Exactly.
I could be trying to start my business. Would that be a business?
Exactly. Exactly.
Explain yourself, young man.
And this is where I think most people get afraid because they feel like they need to know exactly what they're going to do and all the particulars before they will actually begin. And that's not the case. And that is, again, someone who is typically product driven and not business driven. So for me, the education is to show someone that by taking that first step, as I say, let's show you how to start taking control of 5 things you're going to spend money on anyway. So the first one is you probably live somewhere, so that means you're paying rent or mortgage. Okay. So just by the creation of a W-9, you're going to be able to claim at least 10% of your rent or 10% of your mortgage every month as a deduction.
So I've got an office now at home.
Exactly.
Okay.
So number 2, your office needs utilities. So that means 10% of the utilities in that home are deductible under the business auspice. Right? You're going to have utilities.
Okay.
Well, if you happen to have someone special in your life, occasionally you're going to probably go out somewhere and eat with them.
And if we discuss business?
If you discuss business, and as long as there's 2 meals on a receipt, that can be considered a business meal, which means that meal becomes deductible. You're going to eat anyway. Why not eat and be able to write it off? Well, I also say that most of us, if you're fortunate enough to have a car, you're going to drive it. Well, because you have a concept of a business, some of the miles that you have, the IRS allows you to claim either gas and or mileage. Mileage is usually the best one, but that means you can now start claiming some of the miles that you drive on that car under the business, which is 62 cents a mile.
What if I like to get in the back seat and have my wife drive and I'm willing to pay her?
That's a whole other conversation, but that can be another deduction that can be created. But now you get to claim mileage that also can be change the taxable income.
Creating intensity.
Exactly. And then the last thing that I say that anyone who is fortunate enough, even if that just means taking a drive to LA, taking a drive to San Diego, if you do
carry your business cards,
but if you decide to take a vacation with your loved one, you can actually try to, like you said, transact any kind of business, discuss it, which makes that trip deductible. So you're going to live, you're going to have utilities, you're going to eat, you're going to drive a car, you're going to travel. That's the first 5 things that you can control. And when it creates a loss, when you structure the corporation right, that loss and or sole proprietorship, that loss will then report on your personal return as an individual, Schedule C. As partners, it'll create what we call a K1. That means that negative lowers the taxable income. When you lower your taxable income, it means you're paying less taxes, maybe not paying a return, or you're getting a bigger return. That's just control.
See? Now, I got that for you for free from him. But if you're interested in giving me a donation for the help that we've delivered, I'm just kidding. Just kidding so far. Excellent. Okay, so that's a reason for anyone who's got a job to invest in themselves, who knows, that passion may actually
Turn
come
into
forth.
something.
And what is it that, I mean, if they've been with a hobby, and I guess the tax code does have a certain definition of hobby and things of that sort.
It
but,
does.
But talking to a good tax person,
Yes. Like JCI.
oh, like JCI,
Like JCI.
Okay, can help you understand those things.
Of course. And the great thing in that too, even though it's in there, some people get that confused where they say that if you don't make a profit in 3 years, the IRS will consider it a hobby and convert you. And that's not necessarily true.
Well, look at Facebook.
And there you go. So the concept is, as long as you're putting
Facebook,
effort.
right? And have they made a profit yet?
Well,
I guess if you sell the stock, you can get a profit.
right, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So the entity has changed once
But
they went
business
public,
and product,
right?
yeah, business and product. That's
Right.
that's the
So
difference.
the concept is if you know how to maneuver, if you will, through the codes that are put here for a reason, then advantages for those who use it. If you don't use it, then you're not benefiting. And that's why I said in the beginning, we're education based, because we know that not every business that starts is going to make millions of dollars. But every business that starts has the power to then leverage the tax code that was built for a business owner, not an employee. So if that is the concept and that's where the power lies, then why would you not actually open that door?
What other great things does your company do?
So JCI, again, that was the foundation. We deal with all types of structuring for people. We also deal with from the very basic bookkeeping to more elaborate accounting principles for some businesses. We also help people when, as we're coming close to tax season, we do tax returns for individuals as well as business. So we file individual return and business returns. And then where we are now really focusing a lot of our energy is we're helping people understand really how to protect themselves for things they can't control and the things that they hope for. So we are also licensed insurance agents. Okay. And what we find in very specific communities that realistically 6 out of 10 people in every home have no insurance at all. And that's something that needs to change. This is one of the things of preventing people from doing GoFundMes and doing car washes and chicken dinners.
And you're talking about personal life.
Right. So we're talking about different forms of life insurance. So the first part of that is, again, educating people on the difference, because most people see life insurance solely as something meaning I have to die to receive a benefit. And that's really not true.
Well, it's the terminology, obviously.
Exactly.
You say life insurance, you're supposed to ensure that I'm going to live forever.
Right. Well,
that's
if you don't live, right, someone benefits. But what you said is great. Some of us will live long. And some of life insurance, when you have the right person wants to educate you properly, not just make money, then there's a plan for you to go into to prepare just for that, living long, which is happening, right?
Yes.
And so when people really understand that process and start preparing, the younger you are, the better. You know, I say this respectfully, but I always ask people, did you wake up today with the hope that when you turn 65 or 70, that you're going to get hired at Walmart to say, welcome to Walmart? And most people don't want that. But they're there, not because that was their choice. They're there because they didn't plan properly and they reached an age in life where Social Security won't do it. Not many pensions exist anymore. 401ks are going down, and now they're forced to get a job.
So we're not talking about life insurance. We're talking about income insurance, actually.
Exactly.
Why do you guys call it life insurance?
Actually, it's not always.
You should write that down and give me credit for it.
Before we make that change,
Before you
right?
make that change.
Right.
No, but that's actually what we're talking about, is a way to assure that things in your life go better.
Right.
Having access to money.
Exactly.
I was hearing today, recently on the news, that the National Rifle Association is behind an insurance policy for gun owners, so that if they accidentally misfire or fire at miss or whatever, they have an insurance. The state of California is fighting that right now. But insurance or assurance is something that helps take risk away.
Exactly.
How does that work for us with our business?
So even from the business side, businesses still need to have forms of insurance, whether that be a general liability policy, a professional, E&O. There's all types of insurance based off of what you do.
Let's talk about the basic sole proprietor.
Okay.
He's got a little business, transportation business.
Okay.
Delivering things.
Right.
What type of insurance are we looking at?
So at minimum, they would have a general liability policy first and foremost, because that covers, usually those come in usually about $1 million to $2 million aggregate, very affordable. But that will be the one basic they would have to have. And then depending on if they're doing all the driving themselves or they start having employees, they might have workman's comp, they may have E&O, and that's just errors and omission is what E&O is, just to make sure that the person who's working on their behalf, if they have to communicate something, that what they communicate, if communicated wrong, doesn't create a lawsuit, that's the errors and omissions.
Okay.
And so depending on what someone might do will determine what additional type insurances they may want to have.
What kind of insurance should a company like tax preparers have?
Well, we definitely, we have general liability. We have to be bonded because we're dealing with people's finances. So that typically is where we have to go. But like with our company, we're bonded. We have E&O, we have general liability, we have professional insurance because in theory, we're a consulting company. So we're always speaking, but some of the things that we have legal implications to our clients.
Yes.
And so we have to have professional insurance. We have E&O insurance. We have bonding. We have our general liability. So just depending on how you engage us will determine what part of the insurance, if we did something wrong and found ourselves in litigation, would be, access.
That's well and good. What have we not talked about that we need to talk about in terms of keeping intensity and creating intensity?
I think that where I start with is I start everything from this concept. Even though I do these services, my crusade is 1, to teach people how to take control. 2, to help people understand that it is okay to reconnect with their dreams. And then 3rd, help them understand that the vehicles that we offer and or just speak about other vehicles that are out there to start moving in that direction. Because again, to me, the most powerful thing that you can do is actually have control over the revenue that you create so you can create a legacy. Most jobs won't do that.
What are some of the types of organizations or structures you can set up that will let you, like a foundation, like a nonprofit? What are those types of organizations good for?
So nonprofits in theory are used because someone is doing something that's good for the community. What they're considered is their public and charitable entity or their religious entity. So that means it was created not for the benefit of the visionary.
Okay.
So that means it's giving. So that if that's what you have, that is a great vehicle when you want to do things in your community and cause a positive effect. Now, I'll say this respectfully, nonprofits have another huge advantage which very wealthy people use. This is why anyone who creates massive amount of wealth always creates a nonprofit, because the power that is, when I have a massive amount of wealth that I don't want to pay taxes on, I can donate to my nonprofit. My nonprofit exempts me, so that means it lowers my taxable income by my donation, and then my nonprofit carries forth something that I like to do. So in a sense, even a nonprofit that's good for the community, when you understand the tax implication, it's also a very good tax shelter for those people who amass a lot of wealth and just don't want it to be sucked up in taxes.
I've once heard of a gentleman who owned a big house on the block, and he created a foundation of sorts that helped take care of the property of his neighbors so that everybody's place was always sterling looking.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Is that legal? It does from a business perspective, because what he did is he created a nonprofit that all the services he could offer for free were deductible to him, and it kept the price of his property high because the neighborhood looked good. So that was a business person who had the savvy to create something that also made deductions to beautify and keep his property value high.
So anyone who's making a little money and they're concerned about their neighborhood, they may not be the big billionaire,
Right.
but even a small person can have an effect on their community through
Of course.
a nonprofit organization,
Yes.
their own little foundation, where they decide instead of paying taxes, I'm going to pay the neighborhood kids to keep their neighborhood
course.
cleaned up.
Yes, that's a good way. And another thing that I like to say about a nonprofit, because they're created from one visionary, but they don't own it. So usually with my clients that are nonprofits, I create a for-profit alongside of them.
Okay.
And what we call is the intellectual property, meaning the programs, the vision. We have the intellectual property owned by the for-profit, licensed to the nonprofit. So that way, if your nonprofit really blows up,
Yes.
that the board can't then dismiss you from your own life.
Now that's very important. There's a lot more
Yes, sir.
to be discussed. As giving as you are, and as penetrating as my interview is, I know that there's much more to tell. How can people get in touch with you and make appointments or
Right.
attend some of your workshops so they can enlarge their vision on their potential.
Right. So people can reach us a couple different ways. So our number is 1-800-524-6122.
Gotcha.
Right. And they can reach me directly. My email is dakil@jci-agency.com. We have a website, which is also jci-agency.com. They can see what we do. They can always reach out to us. We give free consultations all the time at any one of these levels because, again, education first. We know that as long as we keep our hand out like this, Mr. Wallace, for someone to take it out, there's make room for someone to put something in.
Very
That's
good.
the blessing you gave me today. So thank you.
God bless you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
And keep looking younger. Okay?
55, stay alive.
As a mentor, I always like for my mentorees to look younger.
Yes.
And you're looking good, young man.
Thank
and I
you.
appreciate
And
what you're doing, and I
yeah.
think you're benefiting, and I'm proud to know you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, JCI, just create intensity. That's a great thing to borrow from our friend and go and do. This is Empire Talks Back. I appreciate your time. I look forward to sharing it with you again. Bye.